Hello,
Good
everyone.
evening, good evening, good
Good
evening.
evening.
How everybody doing?
All is well.
Great.
So tonight, my name is Damon Holland from Holland Homes Team. You all know me. Tonight is a special night. We're going to be talking with Dana. We're going to be talking with Robin, the co-founders of the Robinson Opportunity Fund. We're going to learn a lot tonight. We're going to ask some questions. We're going to get to know them and their journey, and also some lessons learned on uh, putting together an opportunity fund. So let's jump right into it. We'll start out with Dana. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
About you, Robin?
All is well, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, like I said, let's go right into it. We're going to talk about opportunity zones. What are they, and how did everything come about with y'all starting an opportunity fund? So, first of all, what are opportunity funds? Opportunity zones.
Okay. So opportunity zones are it's a tool, it's an economic development tool, and it allows people, specifically taxpayers, to invest in distressed areas in the United States. So the reason why they have this is so that it can create economic growth and job creation in low income communities. And at the same time, it's providing tax benefits to investors. And I'll talk to you about that in a few minutes. But it was created under what they call the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. And what happened a few years ago, I want to say 2018, is that all of the governors in all 50 states and then the District of Columbia and the five territories, they went out and designated specific areas as qualified opportunity zones. So if you were to go look up qualified opportunity zones and you look at the United States map, they're going to identify areas that are what would be considered distressed, and it would be considered a opportunity zone.
Okay. Thank you, Dana, for that one. My question is, excuse me, why did you want to invest in an opportunity zone?
Well, actually, I came across opportunity zones by accident. I was actually looking up something else. So when I was looking up something, then opportunity zones popped up. Well, about 10 years ago, I was looking at this television show, and I'm not going to talk about what show it is, but it discussed real estate investment trusts, or what they call REITs. And so, what a REIT is it's a company that owns, operates, or finance income generating real estate. So it's similar to a mutual fund. So what the REITs do is it pulls the money of investors, and they also would earn dividends from that investment being the real estate. So the investors don't individually buy or manage or finance the property. That actually is done by the company. So what they do is they pool their money together, and then whoever is managing it would give the dividends back out to the investors. So that's what got my attention. So to me, the opportunity zone kind of went along with what I wanted to see in a REIT, if you will.
Thank you for that, Dana.
Okay. Absolutely, absolutely. Moving right along on this. So let's say I'm out here and I'm listening to this and I'm watching this live stream. How can I invest in opportunity zones?
Well, the only way that a person, and it's specifically a taxpayer, and I'll explain why that's important. A taxpayer has to invest in these zones by way of a qualified opportunity fund. So that's how they would do it. They would have to actually go to a qualified opportunity fund to participate in the program.
Okay. Also, on that same end, what made you want to become a qualified opportunity fund?
Well, originally, I wasn't thinking about it. I was actually looking at what was already out there. So when I was looking at the funds that they had at the time, I want to say this was like early 2019. The active funds that they had, they wanted a minimum of 50 to $100,000. And so these funds were very large. So the smallest one I saw was like about $10 million. So if I had 100 million, excuse me, if I had $100,000 and I invested in that fund, then I actually would only have 1% of that company of or any potential profits. And if I had 50,000, that was 0.5%
Mm,
of the fund. And like I said, the smallest one I
mhm,
saw was 10 million. So not only did that 150 or $100,000 did I have to have it, but I had to have it as a capital gain that I realized within 180 days, and it actually had to be held for a minimum of 10 years for me to benefit for the program. And number
mm,
one, I didn't have any capital gains, and let alone realize it within 180 days. Also, I had to be willing to lose part, if not all, of that investment. So, what made me decide to have my own fund is that I could start at a much slower, a much smaller amount, if you will, and then just grow from there. Also, one of the sponsors of the bill is from our family's hometown in Charleston, South Carolina. Shout out to Charleston, Chucktown. And some of the areas that the family lived in is in the zone. So it would be my way of basically giving back to the community. So in addition to making money and saving tax on my taxes, I actually was revitalizing my community. And that's basically what I wanted to do.
Outstanding,
absolutely,
outstanding.
here a lot in there. Community needs, filling different voids, definitely community influence. There's a lot in there. So, what are some of the certifications and requirements to maintain the fund?
Okay, so if anyone wanted to get a certification or to know what the requirements were on the Qualified Opportunity Fund, it's actually on the irs.gov website. Now, the certification, you do a self-certification. So, what the fund it is an investment vehicle, and you can either organize it as a corporation or you can organize it as a partnership. And you would do it for the purpose of investing in qualified opportunity zone property. And this
Mhm.
is, and then there are some changes. So I would invite people. I think we have a link in the description, because this is an ever changing thing. But there are some requirements when you have the fund. Now, to certify and maintain the fund, that you must file a federal income tax return as a partnership, corporation, or an LLC, limited liability company, and that is treated as a partnership or a corporation. And then the fund must be organized for the purpose of investing in the qualified opportunity zone properties, and this is under the laws that they have for the all 50 states, the District of Columbia, um, the U.S. possessions, federally recognized Indian tribal government, and then you have to hold at least 90% of those assets in the qualified opportunity zone. Now, to certify and maintain, like I said, it's a self certification. You must annually file a Form 8996. That's a tax form, and that's called a Qualified Opportunity Fund. And you would do that with any eligible partnership or corporation federal tax return. So, what I would like to be the takeaway for this is that it should not be commingled with any other fund that you may have. So it would be segregated because there are specific requirements for the qualified opportunity fund.
Outstanding. So what is the fund? How is the fund structured?
Well, my fund, originally I put together a okay, so I didn't have a whole lot of help. No one knew what I was talking about. So originally I had a business plan, and I formed a limited liability company, an LLC, for the Qualified Opportunity Fund.
Mhm,
However, because I was raising capital with other investors, I needed to form a limited partnership for the fund, right?
mhm,
And then the general partner would be the LLC. So I had to do a change. And then I
Mm,
also needed to put together or develop a private placement memorandum and to file a Form D with the US Securities and Exchange Commission. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. And I will tell you that Form D was the most painful thing. Now, I'll tell you why it was painful, but it really isn't as bad as you may think. Now looking back at it. So if you're putting together a company and you're getting money from investors, you can use an exemption, and it's under Regulation D of the Securities and Exchange Commissions. And you can do this where you can sell the security, or when you put together the fund, um, and you don't have to do a lot of you don't have to provide a lot of the information that other companies would be doing if you're doing it under the exemptions. So on a Form D, that's what they call it. It's just a brief notice in the Securities and Exchange Commission, and it just has basic information like um, the company names and addresses of their executives, the size of the offering, and the date of the first sale. Like I said, the reason why it was so difficult for me at the beginning is because that form was originally a paper form. So when they changed it to electronic, it was really difficult for me to navigate. So I had the help of an attorney to help me um, put it together. So now when I look back at it, I can see that it's only a few pages of information that I already knew. But like I said, you're going from a paper document to electronic, and that electronic version was not friendly at the time. Now, I was doing this in 2019, so I am sure that they have improved then since
mhm,
then. So
mhm,
under Regulation D of Rule 506, and this is under the Securities and Exchange Commissions, there are two distinct exemptions from registering your company when you want to sell securities. And that's kind of what you're doing when you do the fund. So um, to tell you off the bat, anybody that I would get money from or get capital from when I'm raising it for the fund, they have to be what we call sophisticated investors. Now, what I mean by sophisticated investor, it's nothing other than they have to have sufficient knowledge and experience in finance and business matters to make an evaluation of the merits and the risk of the investment that I'm providing to them. So they have to be sophisticated, and legally they have to be accredited. Now, the two exemptions that I was talking about, the first one allows for an unlimited amount of what we call accredited investors, but I can have up to 35 what they call non-accredited investors. And because I'm allowing for non-accredited investors, I cannot do what we call a general solicitation or advertise um, my fund. So when I'm talking about my fund, I don't tell you the name of it in a public forum. It would be basically a private conversation. And the
okay.
reason why is because I am allowing for um, certain non-accredited investors. Like I said, everybody has to be sophisticated, but the way my fund is set up, I'm allowed to have non-accredited investors. Now, the other exemption allows for an unlimited amount of accredited investors. And then in the Securities and Exchange Commission, in that website, it actually talks about what you would do on both of those exemptions and how you would segregate the two and how you would gather the information to make sure that you're in compliance.
Okay.
All good information. This is definitely flowing. But I want to jump back real quick because you earlier you talked about the areas. You said all 50 states have designated areas as far as for the designated for the opportunity zones, and you said distressed areas. So, and we know through our experience they're not always the baddest or the baddest areas. So elaborate a little bit on that, because we know a little bit different. It's not always that bad.
Yes, that is true. And see, and you brought up an outstanding point, Damon, because a lot of people would think low income and distress, you have certain things that come into your mind. But a lot of the areas,
Hmm.
especially the ones that we've dealt with, they were far from it.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it was so you when you look, you have thousands of places to pick from. And so what you want to do is you want to, when I'm look as a funds manager, when I'm looking at a community, I want to look at what I want it to look like after 10 years. Because if you remember, I was talking about the 10 years.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
how it works with the taxes is that, and we have the information in the description, is that what we're supposed to do is to revitalize the community. We have to have an investment for at least 10 years. So it is in our best interest to make it better than when we came in. Because when we leave, when we sell the property, we want to sell it for a gain. Well, the only way that's going to happen is if we significantly improve it.
Mhm.
So we want to pick an area that's what we call up and coming.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. It is not it is not the most challenging area we can find. However, I will tell you that, if you see potential in your community, then I would invite you to look
Hmm.
into the fund, especially if that area is in the zone, because you can get the resources from others to actually improve your neighborhood
Mhm.
by using the help of other taxpayers, depending on the exemption that you use, because it could be people you don't even know. So that's an outstanding point,
Absolutely.
Damon.
Sure is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just wanted
Okay.
to, because I get asked that a lot. I get asked that all the time. Well, you say distressed areas, then I have to go into it and break it down a little bit the same way you did. So I just wanted to make that point so everybody know who's listening.
Well, actually, Robin had done a walkthrough on one of the houses, that I think it was the last house that we purchased. Now,
Mhm.
for everyone that may not know this, when I came up with when I did the research and was looking into the opportunity zone, one of the first people I called was Robin, because Robin and I go way, way back. I said, Robin, and all she probably heard was, and then she's like, okay, you want to do, so what do you want to do again? So she actually had me come down. I had to drive almost 600 miles to explain it to her. And then she said, okay, you need to talk to Damon. Now, what I didn't know was not only are you a real estate agent, but you're also an investor. And so, people put fancy titles on things, but I actually, money well spent, and you actually helped me purchase my first opportunity zone property, my most lucrative opportunity zone property, and then Holland's Home Team, they actually helped me purchase the last opportunity zone property. So thank you to Holland's Home Team.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, we appreciate it. That's what we're here
Yeah, that big one was nice. That nice
for.
the big house was nice.
Yes, yes, it was right on time. It was right on time.
Okay, Dana, my question is, What is a private placement memorandum and what does it do?
Okay, before I tell you that, um, I think someone had asked me what an accredited investor was because I used that term before, but nobody knew what I meant when I said that. Now, when you're putting together your private placement memorandum, you need to pay attention to, and I'm going to answer your question, Robin. You need to pay attention to the accredited investor because when you're asking for capital, when you're raising money for the fund, you have an unlimited number of accredited investors, but you have a limited number of non-accredited investors if you pick the I think it's paragraph B exemption. Now, if you pick up C, then it's all accredited. So if you're talking, so you can be a natural person, you can be a trust, or you can be an entity when we talk about accredited investor. So so just to give you the snapshot. So if you are a natural person, when we're talking about an accredited investor, we're talking about someone that earns $200,000 or with a spouse, um, $300,000 in the prior 2 years, and then there's a reasonable expectation that they're going to make 200 or 300,000 the following year or for the current year. So it's 200,000 for the single and 300,000 for the couple, or or have a net worth of $1 million, either as a single or with a spouse. And this excludes the value of the person's primary residence. And then the last thing is they hold in good standing a series 7, 65, and 82 license. And I'm thinking those are the people that are giving financial advice because they to be in good standing, I think they have to have training. But as you can see from the theme on the accredited investor, we're looking for someone that is that has the resources to be able to withstand any challenges on the investment. Now, with the net worth, now we talked about net worth. So if you take away your primary residence, if
Mhm.
if your assets minus your liabilities is $1 million or is over $1 million, and you
Mhm.
can document that, and there's a way that you can do that, and I put that in the description, then you can be certified as um, a accredited investor. And I think that's something that's done on a regular basis. I think it may be annually because that's something because things change. So you want to make sure that that's constant. So you want to make sure that anyone that comes into your fund is accredited, unless you have the other exemption. But you still need to know which way, what type of investor you're dealing with, because at the end of the day, they have to be sophisticated. Because whatever monies they give you, they could lose part, if not all of it, and they need to know that.
Okay.
So you were asking me about a private placement memorandum, which is an outstanding segue because the private placement memorandum is a legal document, and it's something that you would give to the prospective investor if you when I am letting them know about raising capital in the fund. So when I'm looking at someone and I'm interested in them providing capital for the fund, I'm giving them a legal document, which is a private placement memorandum. Now, this is when I am using one of the exemptions, and I'm telling you, I did use one of the exemptions. So, what the PPM does is it describes um, what I'm selling with the securities, what the offerings are, what the risk of that investment is, and also who my target investor is and the complexity of the terms. And so, because we're talking about the Qualified Opportunity Fund and we're talking about the Opportunity Zone, whatever I'm putting in the PPM is going to be different than what investors would normally see. So, for example, I would be talking about in the private placement memorandum that I'm going to be providing to the investor, I'm going to be letting them know that the opportunity fund was based on this law. And this law says these are the things that you have to do. And then I'm going to outline all of the risks that are associated the with giving me with providing an investment in the fund, and also how I'm going to conduct business and how I'm going to report information to them. And then also letting them know how it's set up to know that they will have the money. Well, it is capital gains, and that they have to put the money in the funds within 180 days of realizing that capital gain. And to get um, the maximum benefit of the program, it has to be in there for at least 10 years. And then it's the disclosure, and how I'm talking about it will give them the information they need to decide whether this is something that they want to invest in, if you will. So that's what a private placement memorandum is. It's a voluminous document. I think mine is just under 200 pages, but it's quite substantial.
So pretty much we talking about SOP. That's a shout out for the military folks out there. You say SOP, you know exactly what
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
talking
yeah, yeah.
about.
This is this is a legal document, so it's more of a
Hmm.
contract, if you will. But yeah, you do have the SOP,
Okay,
if you will, built into it. Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
Outstanding.
absolutely, absolutely. So that goes into the next question. How is that different from a business plan?
Okay. So, like I said, the PPM, or the private placement memorandum, it's a legal document. A business plan, on the other hand, is a marketing document, and it's fluid. It changes. So it's basically talking about how I'm going to conduct the business moving forward. It's going to be looking at market demand, the customer profiles, any type of growth opportunities, um, competitive landscaping, revenue channels, and strategic partners. Now, I will be talking about some of these things in the private placement memorandum. However, the business plan is pretty much a marketing tool, and your private placement memorandum is a legal document. So, and I think we do on the channel, we do have how to construct a business plan just for the people that want to use one. So, you've got that. Private placement memorandum, I needed to have help from the legal team. So hopefully that answered your question.
Okay. Is another way, I'm thinking also, is another way to say it, is a PPM like current, how everything's going currently? Does it talk about future growth also?
Yes, sir, it does, because when I did the PPM, it was at the beginning is when I'm raising money. So what happened was we published the PPM in 2019. Well, I want to say August of 2019. We did not foresee what was going to happen in 2020. But the way the PPM was constructed, it allowed the flexibility, because my goal
Got it.
is to have the fiduciary responsibility to protect the investor's money, to include myself, because I'm also one of the investors. So
Right.
it gave me that flexibility to pivot, and that's exactly what we had to do.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Okay. My question, Dana. Are you applying lessons learned? Mm-mm, that ain't right. Um, if you're applying lessons learned, what would you do differently?
Okay, so if I was to look back at the lessons learned, I think for me, one of my lessons learned is to get with the subject matter experts as soon as possible. Now, at the time that I was looking into this and getting interested in the opportunity zone, and actually developing and deciding that I wanted to have a qualified opportunity fund, there were people that didn't know what I was talking about. So it was really difficult to get subject matter experts. But I was fortunate enough to be able to deal with subject matter experts that understood securities. And that's pretty much what I was doing. I was working with securities. So that made it a little bit easier. So the other thing was work with those who are ready to work. And what I mean by that is the reason why I selected the exemption that I did was because I wanted to allow my friends and family to participate because again, revitalizing the community, I thought that was something that we could all share in. The challenge
Hmm.
is that as an investor, you needed to invest capital gains. Well, I didn't have capital gains. So if I didn't have capital gains, it was going to be even that much harder to find other people that had capital gains. And then the other thing too is because of that, I started out too low. So I think going back to your question, I think that I would have started even though what made me get the fund in the first place was because the money that other companies were raising was 100 million, a billion, all this other good stuff. I think instead of the amount that I picked, I should have gone a little bit higher and then possibly just dealt with accredited investors only. That way, I would be allowed to advertise to the general public instead of the way I am now. Now, that doesn't stop me from opening another fund. That does not. But that's my lessons learned, I think.
Okay, thank you, Damon.
How do you see the fund in the next 3 years, or where do you see it at in the next 3 years?
Um, well, I'm looking for more properties to I'm looking for more properties because we're still, because the communities that we're working with, we can actually expand. So that means that I possibly would have to have another fund. And also because the law that's in place, I want to say it expires in 2025. So I'm thinking I'm going to pay attention to the quote political wins because the law that's in place now was bipartisan,
Mhm.
but I don't know,
Hmm.
but because it's involving capital gains and the taxpayers, I need to pay attention to what's going on. So for the next 3 years, I'm going to be looking at the changes that are going to be made. Also, what I think is important is because I've had a fund since 2019, I can actually provide some input. So whenever the government makes a change, I think they do it by publishing it in the Federal Register. But before they do that, they're talking to the people that are actually doing the work. So I want to participate with other fund managers, and we discuss some of the challenges that we're having because we're just running into a few challenges because this
Hmm.
program is so new.
Right.
So basically, get involved. But right now, just keep an eye on what's going on because I'm asking people to invest their capital gains that they may have to divert to something else. So just paying attention to that.
Gotcha. Okay. And last one from me. How can the average person get involved?
Okay, so when we talk about average person, I'm thinking you're meaning someone that's not an accredited investor.
Correct.
Okay,
Hmm.
so to participate in the program, you really don't have to be an accredited investor. So, during this journey, I found out that I needed some other skill sets. And so, one of the companies, NXG3 Consulting, they provided me with consulting and administrative services. I also dealt with some real estate teams, of course, one of them being the bigger one, which is Holland Homes team. Not only did they provide me with the real estate support that I needed, but Damon's company they actually did it from an investor's perspective because you sometimes you get real estate people that are used to dealing with people that are just looking for residential, But with Holland's Homes team, they actually took it to another level. They
Yep.
actually knew where the opportunity zones were, and they could tell me, "Hey, this is the area that's up and coming," or "Yeah, I might want to look at something else." So we've been all over the place looking at these. These are
Hmm.
some beautiful areas, like that one that we looked at by the water. I was going to move there,
Yeah.
but that was beautiful. But people don't know these opportunity zones are in some pretty nice areas that you would
Mhm.
never know about.
Exactly.
But you also have a legal team that was important. Again, dealing with securities, an accounting team. Now, the accounting firm that I'm working with, it took me a while to find them, but they actually have other fund managers. They actually do have qualified opportunity funds. So that was beneficial because they knew what I was talking about. Because if I was going to other CPAs, they were like, "What?" I went to some real estate agents, they were like, "What?" Now, Damon, I'm gonna let you talk about this, but Holland's Home Team, since the opportunity zone is nationwide, if someone is interested in it, would they contact Holland's Home Team and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing something, let's say in North Carolina," or "Hey, I'm thinking about doing something in Tennessee." Would your company be the one to talk to?
Yes, absolutely. We always can start the conversation. I can definitely get on the map, see where you're looking at, or find different areas on the map. And then also, I have different connections in different states, different realtors who I can inform and talk to in those different areas, different cities. So it can definitely, that conversation can always start here, and we can take it from there. Definitely. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, and then we have the project managers when we buy a property and we're because one of the things we're supposed to do is we're supposed to substantially improve it. So I need a project manager with boots on the ground. Now, remarkably enough, um, when things were going crazy in 2020, I actually that was when we had
Hmm.
the most properties, right? Because I
Mhm.
think, like I said, when I started out with Damon, we actually had the most properties, and everybody was working.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that was I was very proud that we had people working. And then property manager, because I think Holland's Home Team, they got me in touch with a property management company that is fantastic. And of
Hmm.
course, those that are in the trades, the electricians, the plumbers, the carpenters, the roofers, all of those folks in the trade. So these are some of the ways that you can get involved in the opportunity zone. But for those that are like, "Hey, where do I fit? I need some more information." Definitely contact Holland's Home Team because, like I said, they know where these things are, and they can get you in touch with the right people. And of course, like I said, NXG3 provided me with consulting and administrative services.
Absolutely. I will also add to that. For me, networking every day, no matter who I run into, because you never know who you run into. You never know what they can and do, what they can and can't do. You never know who they know. So it's always a big thing for us networking. And then when you find the right people in the right places, that connection is golden sometimes. Again, you never know who you run into on a day-to-day basis. It is outstanding.
And I would just like to add for both Dana and Damon, our paths crossed many years ago, Dana and I, and my background is contracting. Well, in Damon's case, getting his houses together, he need eyes on the ground to say, do we need this? What needs to be done? Is this going to happen? How this going to happen? And so, because of my experience in construction contracting, that was a great help. I feel that allowed Damon to not necessarily pick at the contractors, but he give them another input on, yeah, if we do this, then you got to look at this. It's never a cut same way each time. Each house is going to be different. So that's my
Th-
little.
Thank you for that segue because Robin, on the video that we did for the rental, you were actually the project manager for that property. Now that I
Hmm.
think about it,
Yeah.
so yeah, Robin was the one that actually, like I said, the boots on the ground. She was out there making sure what needed to be done was done before we employed a property manager to put it on the market. So definitely the teamwork makes the dream work, you know? So definitely,
Absolutely.
I am so grateful for the both of you. I'm grateful for the entire NexGen team. But Robin, I wanted to publicly say thank you for believing in my vision. I appreciate you. You know I love you.
I love you too, honey, and you're more than welcome. I wouldn't have it no other way. We've been too far too long. And then I don't want to hear your husband mouth either. How about that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So I know you said it a little bit earlier, but one more time, where can we get more information?
Okay. Well, one of the ways is if you have any questions, go ahead and put it in the comments section in this video. And what we will do is we have a couple of blogs and we have additional information based on the questions that come in. But let's say that you don't want to ask the question in public, I mean in public like that, then definitely contact Holland's Home Team, and I believe either your information is in the description or we're going to put it in the description if anyone has any questions or needs any help.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Robin, what you got? And you got anything in closing?
No, just remember you have to look beyond. No, you don't have to do that. You have to remember what your goal is, what your vision is, and go for it. If you sit around and wait on other people, you're just waiting. I took my experience, although I don't have the experience Dana and Dev, Dana and Damon had, but I took the experience I had and was able to build into what they're doing and allow my expertise in construction to make a better way or open a door so they can better understand what really goes on. Although Dana was in construction also and contracting. So we both have the experience there in dealing with all kinds of construction contracts, period. And that's all I got. Keep your faith.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say for me to close out everything. We talked about it a lot. No matter what question we asked, it kind of always came back to community. I know one thing that's something that connects all three of us, providing a need for the community, staying tight with the community, also uplifting the community. We, like I said, throughout this whole 40 something minutes, we always came back to community and wanting to invest in the community and make it better. So for me, that would be a big thing of everything we talked about. This is just one of the ways, one of the many different ways that you can help your community out.
Uh,
And that's what brought us together.
oh, and don't forget, Damon, the veterans piece.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Also, that
Cool.
too. That's a big one. Dana, what you got in closing?
I'd like to thank Holland's Home Team for hosting this live stream, and thank you again, my cohort in crime, Robin. Ooh, guys, it's going on 5 years.
Uh-huh.
But and also I wanted to, and you probably will do this, Damon, thank the moderators in the chat. I don't see any questions, but I guess we will revisit it. And so definitely come back and look at this video. And you may have missed something the first time you saw it. But again, if you have any questions and you're too bashful to put it in the comments section, um, definitely get a hold of Holland's Home Team. And I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Absolutely. So appreciate you. Also appreciate the both of you. Love working with you. Looking forward to everything else we're going to do and create in the future. Also, thank the moderators, everybody who's watching right now. Remember, if you have questions, contact us, and we will definitely get your questions answered. We will get you anything and everything you need as far as information. And let's start the conversation. Let's have the conversation. Act now. That's one of the big things. Again, is to go ahead and act. Go ahead and act. It's okay to research and look, but if it's going to come a point in time when you got to go ahead and do it.
Your nephew is attempting to reach you on your cellular
So
device.
Uh-oh.
that's all we have right now. Thank you again. Good evening, good night, and we'll see you when we see you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.